I've just written a really long thing on Facebook, and it kind of got longer and longer and longer. Inspired by a weird video that I don't know, didn't really want to listen to, but I was like, why do I want to listen to this? Why am I clicking on these songs? He's made quite a lot of videos about Justin Timberlake. Why would I bother? Um, and then it's just like, yeah, we're in some sort of matrix, and I'm kind of constantly trying to figure out like the future and what's going to happen. And and yeah, looking at relationships are interesting because I don't know, like I don't really follow Usher, but seeing a picture of maybe his wife or maybe it was a music video, I don't know. I didn't like feel inspired to want to know. And yet, even though I don't really know that much about or hadn't known much about um, Justin's wife Jessica, I didn't know. Like I haven't been following it. I haven't, and it just occurred to me now that I want to know more. And I was just thinking, why do I want to? And I just think there is a bigger thing when it comes to relationships. Like, I'm curious to know how Jay Z is helping Beyonce. I think it's going to be helping. He's going to be helping her in a very different way to um, how Justin will be helping me in a way. And then it's just like thinking that Jay Z is like Beyonce's partner, and Justin could, in a sense, mine. Feels really strange considering that he hasn't been making the songs or acting in a way that I would wanted a partner to be. So I've just been thinking about this, and then I was thinking about all the relationships and like Nelly Furtado is like, if there's the split of a hive and people going to be with the maker, that there's going to be a lot of people who think that I can't be. Thinking about this, the board too, the guy who I've been talking to on YouTube, soon he was like saying that, well, there's obviously a God above me if I was created, hence I'm not the one creator. And, there's going to be a lot of people that want to seek like the God with the most power. And so Nelly Furtado is kind of a good role for that because if she represents a God that made me, there might be a lot of people that don't want to believe that I'm that good or that powerful or that anything, and then they might want to, seek the God that's above me, the God that made me. And so Nelly Furtado comes into that, and then I was like, well, Nelly is the angel of the trigger or angel of sniper. I think trigger sounds a lot better because it sounds like it could be anything, just something that starts the change. A lot of people want change, and so the trigger might not actually have anything to do with killing, but rather just a trigger to set something off. But yeah, I think it does lead to the sniper, which is killing. But he's with Ashante, which is angel of the karma. No, payback. Um, so yeah, that makes sense how it's actually for payback. I want the trigger to start the payback for what's happened to me, and then I'm thinking about all the other relationships that I'm interested in. Um, and yeah, I like seeing Ronan Keating's pictures of that girl who I don't actually know her name, but it's interesting. Just and then I was thinking he's on the One Show, and then I was thinking that Britney Spears had as a Scary, but he was um, he reminded me of Rylan, who was the presenter on Big Brother, and I was really wanting to be on Big Brother, but Britney Spears represents wishes on the positive side, but I've seen very little of her positive side. I've seen, I don't know why, but she's, some angels, they can be both the positive name or the negative name, but some angels seem to represent mostly the negative name. I think Eminem also is another one that seems to represent mostly the negative name. Like most of his songs seem to be about people who need martial law or martial law rather than just. I've seen very little that point to positive laws, um, but yeah, I think he represents both. But just you can tell how bad the world is by if you look at not what the singers are doing, but what the singers are doing with their public profile, and if you know their positive and negative name, and I think Robbie Williams represents a false hope, and I feel like I kept wanting to see real hope in it, but it was so slim that the majority of things that I saw was just all negative. And so even though they have two names, I feel like some just focus on the negative, and Britney Spears is definitely one of them. There's some things that sound like, oh, this is a nice wish, this is good, this is positive, and and you keep getting misled by it, and then it just you see later that it's actually just a sick wish, or something that's probably shouldn't happen. And then I think me getting onto Big Brother might not have might not happen, might have not been the right path. I think I definitely need to get onto some sort of show. And I guess I was talking about there being two shows before, where I start off on Big Brother and then move to a second show. But considering the Angel of Protection, or Stalker, it was on the One show. He's famous for being on the One show, or at least that's how I've seen him recently. I've seen him on the One show a lot. Um, and I don't know how recent. I don't think it was the last month. Maybe, I can't remember. I don't watch the One show, but I know he's been on it a lot. But yeah, I feel like that's a sign that it would be far better for me to start off on a show and stay on that one show, whatever that one show be. I'm not too sure. Ryland's Angel of the Microphone, but I haven't actually given him a negative name, and I feel like there might be a negative name, which is, I don't know, to do with the microphone, but maybe to do with wrong messages from humans or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm still trying to work him out, because that day that I thought that I was going to get on Big Brother, I swear he posted a picture of, just posted a picture of going into a limousine, and I was just saying in my head that maybe I am going to get on Big Brother and they're just going to send a limousine round. And then I looked on Instagram, and he posted a picture of a limousine with the door wide open and him looking, pointing towards it. And it was just like, I felt like that was a sign that I was going to get on. And then it didn't happen, and it didn't manifest. And I was really kind of like, well, why did you do that? Like you were connecting with my head and what I was wanting, but it didn't happen. And you were just kind of leading me on, which made me feel really angry on the 7th, which was when that sort of war that war in Israel happened, Gaza. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to analyze the singers and what they're doing, and trying to work things out. And I feel like there is signs in the relationships, because there's some people's relationships that I have no interest in. I mean, if Usher represents action in in a life that you have and stuff. And Jesus taught the opposite, but then he represents the average person, and him teaching people to love him, is just actually him teaching people to love the average person. And okay, the average person is shit right now, so I don't want people to love Jesus or the average person. Justin Bieber represents the average person, and yeah, he has a bit of a up and down past, should I say? But in the future, and people shouldn't also love just what's the other one? Kanye West, the Black Jesus with the mental illness. People shouldn't love that. But yeah, in the future, Jesus is never going to die because people are never going to die. There's always going to be an average person, an average style of people. Um, so in like 1,000 years' time, Jesus will still be alive because the average person will still be alive. But I'm just hoping that the average person will be far better than what they are now. I would love to piss off Christians because Christians love the average person, but they don't realize that they're worshiping the average person. And I think the average person right now is so bad that I hate Jesus because I hate the average person. And I'd love to set up some sort of demonic ritual where I have a picture of Jesus, because the people were criticizing the Angel of Shock, for Little Nas for doing blasphemy against Jesus by, I don't know, posing him up as a wolf in sheep's clothing or something like that, or a sheep in, sheep in a wolf. Yeah, I don't know. He was posing up as Jesus and posing up as a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think that was what they were saying that he was representing. But yeah, I would really love to do a complete insult towards Jesus, where I like stab him and kill him, and then take a crown that's off his head, turn it into a nice one, because I don't want thorns on my head. Take the thorny crown off his head and then turn it into like a proper crown and then put it on my head. Do something. I'd want to really anger Christians, and I would love to do something like that because, okay, I'm not supposed to hate Jesus because Jesus is supposed to represent the average person, but I feel like the world is just so bad that I'm allowed to now hate Jesus because I just really want this to not be the average person. I want the average person to be something so much better. And so I would, I'd love to just have stick me in some cell or basement with a picture of Jesus, and then get me to like do what Gabrielle's ex partner did to that paedophile, stab him like 120 times, 150 times. So I want to get a picture of get an image of model of Jesus, make it very clear that it looks like him or however people think he looks, and then I just want to like stab him and desecrate him and make all Christians all over the world be like, oh my gosh, she deserves to die. She's destroying our image. And then to take his thorny crown and actually turn it into a proper crown and put it on my head. I mean, that would be the ultimate blasphemy. But yeah, technically, I don't want to kill the average person, but I feel like it just has to happen because this world is so terrible. And I know I'm focusing a lot on England and America, and that they are bad. There's places in America that are bad, but yeah, I think places all around the world are worse. And so I need to also want to think about the future, and how, because there's some really lovely, really nice houses and nice locations, and I think that I would want the people to leave, the people who I'd want to go most and become gods in their own world, um, or to move, the people who I'd most want to be in the other hives. So let's say that, just call it the other hives. I'm Queen Bee. I'm the bee of this. I'm the queen of this world. That I, as a hive splits, you have to form other queens, and then get them to fly off into different hives, and you have to try and convince all the bees to go, to choose which queen they want, and then go and live with their queen. But yeah, so I'd want the other queens to be seen in ways to be seen better, but technically I would need it to be done in a way that makes only the dumb people think that the other queens are better. The smart people, I would want them to see me as being the better choice, hence would get them to stay. I think a good way of telling good people from bad people is the kind of house or lifestyle that they're living. Okay, it's not always the truth because there's a lot of drug dealers and there's a lot of people who are only rich because of crime and fraud, and it's not good to be rich because of crime and fraud. But then again, if you spiritually know that God hates everyone and wants to murder everyone, then getting rich that way might not be as bad as what you might have thought, or what I might have thought, what anyone might have thought. It's just, that's how confusing this world is, where bad people who do bad people things to other people, in a way are helping God if overpopulation is the problem. So it's very, very complicated because I don't want bad people to stay. Um, but at the same time, I don't really want stupid people to stay unless, of course, they're helping in the farms, and builders are very important as well. We need. So I think if there's people at the top, I'm thinking of that Lecrae video where there's some people on like Jesus Last Supper table, and then they're choosing who gets to live and who gets to die. I'm thinking of that in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking if I'm talking to the Father or people that are going to control this, um, that's what I would say. Look to see who has nice houses, look to see who's living in nice areas, and although they might not all be good, nice people, if they can look after their home and keep it going, and if they, then there's probably worth keeping them, and therefore, um, the target of who should leave should be the people that don't work hard. Not necessarily, because you could live in a shitty, horrible house and be a really hard worker, and maybe you don't mind living in a shitty house because you're so busy working elsewhere that you don't have time for living in a, you don't have time to. If you live in a studio flat, it's not nice. But then if you're a nurse and you're constantly helping people and living in the hospital, sometimes it doesn't matter if your location is, or your house, where you live is not that good, because you've got better things to do and better things to places to be. That having a shitty house actually makes you leave and want to work harder. So there is good in having a small place, but at the same time, it's important that the right people get the nice houses. And it's annoying to think that the council just gives out nice houses to people who just live off benefits. And I think that's wrong, because that's not the people they should be helping. They should be helping people that want to work hard. I want to work hard, but I feel like working hard for me is spiritually working hard. Hence for me, I feel like lying on a bed doing nothing is the best way to help people, because it's spiritually helping them. Although technically, I'm confused if I'm spiritually helping them or spiritually cursing them. I feel like there's a lot of confusion there. But I've said a lot, and I need to go back to sunbathing.